All right. Hello and welcome everyone to another Doc Talk with Sports Management Worldwide. My name is Ike. I'm here in Portland, Oregon at the world headquarters of Sports Management Worldwide, and love to thank all of you for joining us. We got Dr. Lashbrook and Joel Corey in today. Quick ground rules and just kind of letting you all know the lay of the land. We will be taking questions from you guys if this is your first Doc Talk. So if you guys do want to ask questions, down at the very bottom of your screen is a participants button. Click on participants, and then you'll see in the lower right-hand corner of your screen is a blue raise hand button. Click that raise hand button if you guys got questions. We're going to be taking your questions about halfway through. We want to get to as many as possible. We got a big registration list today. We'll probably have a lot more people joining here soon. Also, if you guys really like these Doc Talks and want to know about more upcoming ones, we got plenty coming for the year. Give us a follow on social media. Our Instagram is pretty much where we announce these things firsthand. If you guys want to register and make sure you get your spot secured, go to Sports Management Worldwide on Instagram at SMWW. Leave us a follow. You'll be the first to know when our next Doc Talks are coming up. And speaking of Doc Talks, the good Dr. Lashbrook is in. He's ready for us, as is Joel Corey. I'm going to pass the mic over to you, Dr. Lashbrook. Welcome in and let us know what's going on in your world.
Well, thank you, Ike, and great job, the production staff, Ike and Lissa, Sharice, and Meg. We got a great staff. We're getting through COVID. Joe, can I see you? Do I know you're out there? Is he coming in, Ike?
He is in, yes. Let me get his microphone unmuted.
Okay, hold on. Remember, Joe's been in COVID like the rest of us. We're all coming out. We got COVID fatigue, which means sometimes we get tired of Zoom, but we keep rolling with it, and I look forward to it. Ike's bringing Joe in. I want to tell you, these Doc Talks started during COVID. It's a way to continue our conferences, et cetera. We got a lot of big announcements coming up. Doc Talks, we used to call them meet and greets. When COVID's over with, we're going to get back down to Vegas and everywhere else. Joe, a good afternoon. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm ready for the vaccine. Maybe earlier, being the age I am, Joe, there is an advantage to age. But, Joe, we got a good group here today. A lot of them are alums, and a lot of them already know your background. I'd like to ask first, in the COVID world, besides teaching SMWW, give an update on what you do in a week as far as the different business opportunities and as you grow your expertise in salary cap.
Well, I've got my weekly column for CBSSports.com called Agent's Take, where I have to figure out something topical to write about. At the beginning of the football season, I started a podcast called Inside the Cap, which is also on salary cap, contract matters. So I got to figure out what to talk about each week on that front as well. Also do some consulting for a select group of agents. So that keeps me busy as well.
You know, Joe, it's interesting. I found during COVID, I spend like you do. I spend my day trying to understand all the silos of sports, whether it's salary cap or the agent world or analytics. It's pretty exciting to see sports has still survived. And I'm really excited and looking forward to the future very soon here as we get the mask off and bring the flask back in. Joe, a couple of questions to our audience before, and I said at the end, quarter of the hour, we're going to take questions. But Joe, I have a couple basic questions. The general impact of COVID on future CBAs, without being sports specific, and then I'll ask you a few more specific questions to kind of get everybody excited and warmed up to their questions. I urge everybody, go down below in the chat room, put in where you're from, put in your LinkedIn. Talk to your fellow classmates and share thoughts or ideas or responses to anything that Joe or I talk about. Joe, just kind of give you that overview of implications of COVID and post-COVID, your comment.
Well, we saw it this year have a huge impact on the NFL because they ended up having COVID-19 amendments to the CBAs. They had like two separate multi-page documents which outlined various things which were only implemented because of COVID-19. You had players who were allowed to opt out for one, some for medical reasons, some voluntarily. You had certain rules change, like anyone became eligible for a practice squad, which didn't exist when the CBA was ratified in March. And now you're really going to see it probably impact the baseball negotiations after this next season, the 2021 season,
Right.
the CBA will be up. And since revenues were down in 2020 and most likely will be down in 2021, baseball was already headed for a huge labor dispute. That's just a complicating matter. We saw in the NBA that both sides pushed back the date when you could terminate the CBA because of COVID-19, and ultimately neither side did. But it's impacting how the cap is going to go up next year. That is probably that they set a very minimal increase for the next couple of years. And also in football, we saw that there's a salary cap floor of 175 million because of the losses due to the pandemic. We don't know whether the league is going to find a way with the NFLPA to make sure the cap doesn't get close to that floor and is a lot closer to staying at its current $198.2 million level.
No, it's fascinating. I got to be honest with you, being an agent for the last 25 years and currently have Matt Moore, the backup to the backup with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we all saw what happened. But Joe, he was called by Andy Reid after he'd already done a very great job last year and went to the Super Bowl as a backup quarterback. Here was a great example of what you just said. They put him on, they used the veteran practice squad, all the new things that came out of COVID, and gave him a guarantee. And that wouldn't have happened without COVID. Joe, stay with football before we go to the other sports. In football, help me out here, though. I know one thing, the players are negotiating, and salary cap is part of negotiations, but they're talking about no off-season, if I may. They kind of said, wait, we had a pretty good product without going to practice every day. Your comments on that, getting ready for a new CBA and some of the implications of COVID, what we've learned.
Well, that's one of the things which has been a priority for the players, to have less of an off-season, structured off-season, and fewer padded practices once training camp started. This year, you had the virtual off-season, no preseason games, and the product really didn't suffer. So NFLPA President J.C. Tretter came out and was like, hey, we don't really need to have this off-season as it's been in its traditional forms on a go-forward basis. So there's going to be something that the NFL is going to want from the union, and we'll see how that works out in terms of coming to agreement on some sort of modified offseason.
Joe, staying on football before I go to an NBA question, you notice that the make up that lost revenue, the owners have always wanted, and I think they'll get there. We go to Wembley every year for the NFL game in Europe, and people laughed 10 years ago, but they sell out in 20 seconds, 70,000 people. Joe, the leverage I think the players have is the owners really want that 17th game. Your comment on that?
Yeah, they have the 17th game built into the CBA. Now, the question is, because of lost revenues and once the new TV contracts, are the owners going to start insisting upon the 18th game, which the players were adamant about not wanting to give? Some of the players thought that there wasn't enough gotten for the 17th game. Now, here's one interesting thing I've thought about in terms of the CBA. Let's say the players didn't agree to the new CBA and we played 2020 under the final year of the old CBA. The players would not want to be negotiating a new CBA under the current pandemic conditions, because whatever they thought was not really all that acceptable that they took or palatable in the current CBA would be a lot worse if they had played out the current CBA and had to negotiate a new one starting now. So sometimes things work out in a weird way, the way they're supposed to.
Great observation. Joe, before I go to the NBA and a couple questions there, I want to ask you the question. I know when I started my agency with Jim Steiner, started working with him, and we really didn't have any salary cap per se. They came out of the lockout, but every organization has a salary cap, a department. Many agencies have. Explain to the group about what salary cap, how you could break into different capacities. It's not just a matter of knowing more than you knew now. The implication of that, including sports betting agent. What do you tell somebody that's interested in the salary cap and wants to start a career in that salary cap? Give them some options out there, Joe.
Well, they're two different sides. One, you could go work for a team, and one of the easiest ways to get in that pipeline is to do an internship or work for the league office in New York in either the labor department or player personnel department, because there are a handful of people around the league who work in team salary cap departments who come from that position. There was a time when I was trying to make the transition to that side to be a team cap guy, and I kept losing out. I'd be a finalist, and most of the times I would lose out to someone who came out of league office. So that's one way if you want to go from the team side. Now we have a burgeoning category called analytics, which didn't really exist in its form 10, 15 years ago. Baseball has always been ahead of every other sport in analytics. Football's behind the curve compared to other sports. Sometimes it's harder to quantify what individual player does because it's so dependent on what your teammates do. But that's a way to break in either on the agent or team side, because teams have a huge advantage in terms of analytics because they have 2, 3, 4 people working on analytics full time, whereas an agent may not have anybody or may only have one person. So that may be a way to get a foot in the door in an agency is working through analytics.
Yeah. You know, Joe, you mentioned internships. Backing up when I was at Missouri in 1980, the assistant strength coach was a guy named Russ Ball. Russ is now with the Green Bay Packers trying to get back to the Super Bowl, 55 years when Kansas City and Green Bay. But Russ was a strength coach, and now he's a executive vice president of the Green Bay Packers in charge of salary cap. And I just think when people learn more and get in internship or whatever, good things happen. Joe, let's move to basketball before we start. Raise your hand in a few minutes. Ike will select you. We'll bring you in, and you can ask directly to Joe. These Doc Talks are not about us. They're about you. But, Joe, let's go to James Harden as an example of salary cap. How do you make such a trade happen? The impact of the trader and the impact of the receiver. Just your comments on Harden, because it's mind-boggling, the implications of every transaction in sports, whether it's football, basketball, whatever sport. Your comments on James Harden.
Well, in basketball, you have more power to force a trade than you do in football. One player, you're one of 5 players, and if you're a superstar, you have that much more of an impact on the game. Also, the Rockets, to me, made a huge mistake with James Harden over the years in terms of giving him the keys to the kingdom and basically placating every wish he had. And he took advantage of that to a degree, which if you read from the reports I've read, that most players won't. That being said, in basketball, the trades are a little bit different than in football. In football, you just need enough room to acquire a contract on the salary cap and you're fine. You can trade whatever you want. In basketball, you have to kind of match salaries, and draft picks can replace some of the matching in salaries. So that's why sometimes you'll see a multi-team trade like with James Harden. And for Houston, it was probably about the best they could do because they had been mortgaging their future to try to placate James Harden with players that didn't necessarily appeal to him after he played with them. Let's trade first-round picks for for Chris Paul. Okay, that didn't work out. Let's trade first-round picks for Russell Westbrook. That doesn't work out. So they have replenished to a degree some of the picks that they had lost trying to placate James Harden. So Houston is going to be in a position where they're going to try to rebuild. The Nets are all in, and I feel sorry for Steve Nash because we have never had a first-time head coach who has had to try to put together 3 superstar caliber players at the same time. It's difficult enough being a first-time head coach with a team which has championship expectations, but to have to deal with what he has to deal with between trying to get Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant to mesh on the court. That's a task I wouldn't envy.
Staying on that topic and going back to another sport for a moment. By the way, Phil sorry is a unique term for the kinds of money that coaches get made. I always say GMs and coaches get fired every 3 years, so enjoy it. But back to my Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and the $500 million contract. Explain to our group as they get ready to ask questions. Let's go to Patrick Mahomes. That's that's a big investment, but explain why they did that, or not why, but why it maybe made sense from a salary cap in that situation, because there's risk involved with anybody.
No, well, Brant Tillis has done a great job. He's the Kansas City Chiefs contract negotiator and salary cap manager in terms of getting guys to do things that most people wouldn't do. He got Chris Jones to take a contract where he gets no new money this year above the franchise tag. He got Travis Kelce to do one of the most team-friendly contracts in an extension I've seen in a long time. And the Mahomes contract was not something that the Chiefs broached, from my understanding. It was agent-driven.
Oh, really?
I don't really know why you want to do a 10-year deal, even though it does provide a little more security, well, a lot more security than your average long-term deal. Prior to this deal, the longest contract in the NFL in recent memory had been Tyron Smith's 8-year extension with the Dallas Cowboys. Had 2 years left, so it was a 10-year deal. And the tackle market has changed dramatically since Smith signed. Now, with Mahomes' deal, he's got these big roster bonuses in each year, which become fully guaranteed either 2 years in advance or 1 year in advance. So the money's pretty much secure. Now, the problem is it's backloaded. If you look at the cash in the deal, he's got $63 million over the first 3 years. Teddy Bridgewater signed for basically $63 million to go from the Saints to the Panthers. If you look at his cash in comparison to other first-round picks who had signed quarterbacks in recent years, the cash pales in comparison to Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. He's about $20 million behind.
Right.
Now, if you look at the new money, Deshaun Watson's new money, that's the money above what you already had in your contract. That's negotiated in your new deal. Deshaun Watson's ahead of him almost in every juncture in their common years. Deshaun Watson signed a 4-year extension at $39 million per year in new money. After the first 4 new years for Patrick Mahomes, he is at $38.95 million. That shouldn't happen. And after the first 5 new years, Mahomes has basically 44% of his new money. There's 56% of it in the last 5 years. Worst case scenario, it should be 50-50, and that's called a neutral deal. Now, there have been some people who have speculated that Mahomes, over the life of his contract, is going to be out close to $200 million. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but there's some people on the agent side and the team side who've come kind of agree that that's about what the number would be. So now he's going to be way behind over time, because you're going to see the market continue to escalate. Russell Wilson will sign a new deal in 2023. He'll probably jump past him. Deshaun Watson, when he's up for a contract extension in 2025, he's going to be looking at,
good stuff.
Okay, I'm going to try to stay at least even with Mahomes, and we'll probably easily surpass that if you add up over whatever he signs with this deal and the next deal in terms of new money. So Mahomes made that decision consciously to leave money on the table to try to win more championships. More power to him. But I don't know if a lot of other agents would have made the same decision that he and his representation did.
Joe, we're going to go to some questions, but I have to enter in the Kansas City factor. Growing up in Kansas City, George Brett stayed with one team, and Mahomes, even Brant Tillis talked Matt Moore in a guaranteed contract as on the practice squad, which was pretty attractive. But it's that Kansas City water and that Kansas City barbecue, Joe, and you just analytics, it doesn't show up like it needs to be. Joe, let's go to our first caller. Ike, we're going to bring in Matthew. Matthew, come in and introduce yourself with Joe Corey. Matthew, welcome in.
Hi, Joel. Thanks
Matthew.
for your presentation. How's it going? I'm from Springfield, Virginia, and I'm taking a data science class with Ari, and I took the baseball analytics class last fall.
Good to have you in, Matthew.
Yeah, good to see you guys. So my question is, I guess it's kind of related to what you were just talking about with Patrick Mahomes. You know, where Tom Brady, I guess, was famous for taking some kind of below market deals so that there'd be enough money for the Patriots to surround him with enough players to win championships. And I think I remember Magic Johnson like taking a pay cut in the late '80s so they could get Michael Thompson on the roster. Do you see any other? Do you foresee, and you also cited the Mahomes example, but do you see any other people kind of doing that, or do you think that's not really that's kind of a rare thing these days?
I think it's kind of rare. But first, I'm going to go back to your basketball example. What basketball players used to do in the late '80s and early '90s was they could defer money to create cap room immediately, and then get the money down the road. You can't even do that under the CBA anymore, under the NBA collective bargaining agreement. Now, you don't see a lot of players doing what Tom Brady did. First, in 2010, Brady did sign a contract making him the highest paid player in the league at $18 million per year. Then in 2013 is when he really started taking those discounts. And you could say they worked out perfectly for him because he had a championship lull and then won more when he kept taking below market deals. Now, I used to jokingly say that Tom Brady is the only NFL player that had signed a prenup because his wife, I was surprised to learn in her heyday, she was making $35-40 million per year as a model, which was more than Tom Brady was making. So in NFL people, some would say, yeah, you can do what Brady does when your wife makes more money than you, but you didn't see Ben Roethlisberger ever do that in his contract extensions. Phillip Rivers didn't do it with the Chargers. Eli Manning never did it. Drew Brees would play hardball with the Saints until the last two contracts when he did start to give them a little bit of a discount. I don't think you're going to see particularly players in their prime do something like that. Mahomes, I think, is an anomaly. One thing that the Patriots used to do, which would piss off other agents, they would use that Tom Brady doesn't go for every last dollar against you in contract negotiations. The union never liked the Tom Brady would take the discounts because in a sense, he was depressing the market. You never saw Peyton Manning do that. He didn't really want to take a pay cut that last year when he was on his last legs with Denver, but ultimately did. So I don't think that the whole I'm going to take one for the team thing is going to gain a lot of traction. Don Yee, Tom Brady's agent, certainly didn't do it. You work for the client. You got to remember that when you're an agent, you execute his wishes. Left his own devices. Don Yee's not doing that. That was directed by Tom Brady. He didn't do it with Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo came the highest paid player in the league when he signed with San Francisco, although briefly. But it's not going to gain much traction.
Joe, great insight. Thank you, Matthew. Let's go to Martin next with your introduction and question for Joe. Martin, thanks for coming in.
Hello, I'm here in the Houston area. I'm in the baseball player development class, and I have a comment, really just a comment for Joel. The NFL Rules Committee, they've got to change this head-to-head contact penalties. You know, these offensive players, you know, when they in real time, they dip their head, they make some quick movement, and then the defensive players and they smash, you know, head to head. They've got to change this.
Actually, the rule is in the books. They just don't enforce it. They could have called it multiple times on Kareem Hunt in Sunday's game, but didn't. They did miss a big one with Daniel Sorensen. That was helmet to helmet when Higgins fumbled on the goal line. He'd change that rule. Where if the ball goes out of the end zone, it's a touchback. It really, to me, it should be spot of the ball, or you give him a 15-yard penalty from the spot, but no turnover.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate thing for Cleveland. We all get that. Let's keep going here. Let's go to Dawn with your introduction. Dawn, welcome in.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Doc. How are you?
I'm good, always.
Hi, Joel. Nice to see you. I took your athlete management.
Where's your video, Dawn? We can go to the moon. We can get our video on.
Sorry, I can't do the video where I'm at right now. So
is it a bad hair day?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Go ahead. We'll take your call. She's a good student. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, Joel, good seeing you. I took the athlete management course the end of last year. Okay. So happy to join in. I just had a quick question, sticking with the NFL. I'm not in the agent advisory program yet. I've talked to Doc about it and Adam, but my game plan is to join that. But I've been working with a college athlete in football. He is going to stay on for another year to finish school because of the abbreviated schedule with COVID. And my question is, what under our advisory agent program would we be able to offer him in terms of getting some visibility for, potential combine or just,
Joe, I'll take that one, Don, and Joe can comment. Sure. Joe, this is an interesting year. The staying in school, going out. This is going to be the combine's been canceled. They're going to do it virtually. There are going to be a lot of kids that say, well, COVID kept me from this or that. I think and we don't know about the XFL and the CFL, but and college athletes getting paid. Joe, your comment to Don about what COVID has done going towards the draft this year and talent discovery and the many changes that took place this year. What's your overall comment on that? It's a good question, Don.
Well, in terms of landing a client, the agents who actually went out and visited potential clients fared better, because a lot of agents were trying to do virtual Zoom meetings and stuff like that. So the in-person ones resonated more than they would in the past. What the NCAA has done is they've granted everyone an extra year eligibility if you want to take it. I'm curious to see how many players do take it. Every year you see too many players declare for the draft, underclassmen. They usually send the triple digits, 100 and some odd players will declare, and you only have 255 draft spots, 256. So there are a lot of mistakes made. Once you put your name in the hat, you can't pull it out, except if you were someone who was a senior this year, you're automatically entered, don't have to declare. You have till March 1st to pull your name out and get your year of eligibility. Well, it'll be interesting to see how the name, image, and likeness rules, assuming they come into place next year like they're supposed to, impact things, particularly with football, because in football, you're not eligible for the draft until 3 years have elapsed from your high school graduation. Now, with the ability for college players to have marketing agents in football, it's going to impact more so than any other sport.
Absolutely.
So you will have football players who normally would not have any affiliation with an agent having one, whereas in baseball, you can come straight out of high school. So you're already talking to agents. And for the NBA, the one and done rule still exists, but there's a very high correlation between being a 5-star recruit and being a lottery pick. So those guys are talking to agents while they're still in high school as well. So it's really going to be football, which there's going to be a bigger impact for the name, image, and likeness rule. So that's going to be something I'm interested to see how agents adapt to that.
Joe, you'll be happy. Don, thanks for your question. Joe, we've asked your colleague and friend that introduced you to our company, Mark Eisenberg, to put together an 8-week course called NIL, Name, Image, and Likeness. We think it's a huge opportunity in the business of sports to understand what's going on, not only for agents, but even athletic directors, assistant athletic directors. We're excited about that, Joe. And you're absolutely right. You're going to have like a hockey and baseball player deciding, do they want to go to college or do they want to go directly to the pros? And the choice, because they can get paid, plus they can always do online education if they don't go to college. It's a real interesting, I call it a 2.0 seismic revolution. Let's go to Jay Priest with your introduction for Joe. Keep coming with the questions. Priest, come in. Welcome in.
Hey, Joel. Hey, Doc. Thanks for having me. Joel, just a question about, some of the time that you spent in the agency world, back in the 90s and some of maybe the unknowns, positive or negative, that someone who's looking to get into industry might not know from reading articles or just having quick chats with people. Good or bad, just some of the things that popped to mind for you.
When I first got started, the thing which I really loved was being able to go to games. Going on first Super Bowl was great. First All-Star game was great. Over time, it's kind of like, oh, this becomes work to a degree where you're like, do I have to go to another game? Now, one of the things I never realized I was going to have to have a working knowledge of is family law, because athletes end up having issues in that area, children out of wedlock, paternity issues. So you're going to have if you're not an attorney, even if you are, family law is not your area of practice, you're going to have to know who good family lawyers are in certain areas so they can handle whatever matter comes up with your client. Now, depending upon how you run your practice, some agents will overpromise in the recruiting aspect and underdeliver in servicing. So they're thinking, if I sign 8, I lose 2, and I don't service much of anything, and I just recruit, have a positive each year. But if you service your clients, then you can end up doing very mundane things. People don't really have physical checks anymore, and everything's done online banking wise. But I was surprised some of the basic life skills that 18, 19, 22, 21, 22-year-old players did not know. Having to teach someone how to write a check never dawned on me when I first got started, but ended up having to do stuff like that more than you would think.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Justin. Joe, it's interesting. We're going to go to Adam next, but Joe, I wanted to remind, I started my company. I lost Ryan Leaf. We worked hard. I knew his college coach,
You got lucky.
Mike Price. No, but I always felt that when I saw what happened to him off the field and his lack of growth and the problems that he needed a personal advisor. And I say this sincerely.
Yes, he did. You're right. He did. He did.
And I think today, I've been telling students, agent advisors, you're going to get a relationship with the backup quarterback at Kansas State and do such a good job. If that quarterback starts his senior year and has a great year, that relationship might drive you to the draft representation. I really believe that you're going to have to revisit how you recruit, because there's going to be an agent for every athlete choosing a college, whether we like it or not. It's a new world, Joe. It's very exciting. And with Adam as our agent advisor leader, we have we mentor, but you don't have to have a lawyer as much. You have to know where to get a lawyer when a client has a problem, as you well know. And you had a great experience.
Actually, I want to touch on something you just mentioned. Okay. That you will probably see at some point players coming in having someone negotiate their national letter of intent in the terms of that agreement. So I think you're right that you're going to see guys coming in. Well, I want to be able to transfer without any repercussions, and it's going to be interesting to see where this ultimately
Joe, I really believe
the
25-year agent advisor foundation we laid globally. And remember, talent discoveries all over the world. They're all not coming from Texas, if I may, whatever sport we're talking about. Is Adam in, Ike? Adam, you want to come in?
I am here.
Adam, introduce yourself, please.
Yes, I'm Adam Klemek. I'll be taking some questions after Joel is done. I know Joel very well, and just to ask a few questions. And by the way, I'm reaching out like Ryan. I recognize Ryan, Ahmad, Logan, and Brandy. I recognize all your names that are in here. This is your time to ask Joel some questions. But Joel, I got two different questions. One, Kyle Sloter, client, we still do his marketing for him, just signed a futures contract with the Raiders. Can you explain to the people that are in this chat kind of what a futures contract means?
Yes, once the end of the regular once the regular season is over, teams which aren't in the playoffs can sign players to contracts for next year. And then once you're eliminated from the playoffs, you can sign those same players, sign new players to next year's a 90-man roster limit in the off season. So it's a contract that you sign now, which will take effect once the new league year starts. That's essentially what a futures deal is.
Perfect.
Good question,
and
Adam.
then,
go ahead.
Yeah, and then part two, I was talking to a hockey player yesterday that didn't realize, and this is where I think the NIL could become interesting, because hockey and baseball players can be drafted so early and have opportunities to play professionally. So he was younger at the time and got a workout invitation from a professional team and didn't realize he would lose his amateurism when he went to that workout and went to the workout, skated, didn't get a professional contract, and then about a month later got a call from the NCAA saying that he was no longer eligible for his college scholarship. So do you think that that's going to have a part to where in the NIL where people are going to have to really be careful about some of the things they're doing out there and how your course could help navigate that?
And Joe, I'm convinced that the NCAA as it is will not be quite the same. And I'm not even sure the question. It's a great question, but Joe, your comment, I think a kid will be able to say go in the draft and then return because of the amateur status changed so dramatically. Go ahead, Joe. Good question.
Yeah, that's one of the unique things about hockey and baseball, that you can jeopardize your eligibility through workouts, which doesn't really exist with other sports.
Exactly.
One thing I think you're going to see with the name, image, and likeness rules is how are schools going to navigate a player signing or having affiliation for a shoe deal which conflicts with the school sponsors? How is that all going to get worked out? Are they going to be allowed to do something like that? Or are there going to be some prohibitions or restrictions on what players can actually do and can't do? How are you going to handle the boosters at a school?
Absolutely.
Like, let's say there's a booster, which owns 5 car dealerships in whatever town the school is. Are the best players all going to have the top of the line model of the car to drive around? Yeah, I know they used to in the old days. Supposedly that's how SMU got good.
Yeah.
Before they got the death penalty. But those are things which all will need to be navigated for the name, image, and likeness rules. Then there's going to be an interesting thing for some of these players. If you maximize all your income when you come in, if you're a 5-star recruit for football, are you going to dilute your value for when you turn professionally? If you remain the 5-star recruit whose value still translates into being a first-round pick, which isn't necessarily the case with football like it is in basketball. So there are going to be some nuances that you're going to have to work out once we get in the world next year of the name, image, and likeness rules and players being able to profit off their likeness.
Right. You know, Joe, stay there, Adam, a second. Joe, that's the wild, wild west. And I want everyone to know, if you take our athlete management course, the agent advisor program, weekly, Adam hosts a chat. We talk, we'll bring Joe in. We're going to stay up on this. Joe, there's no book out about post-NCAA and what this NIL looks like. I think it's an ongoing weekly discussion. That's why I'm so excited about Mark Eisenberg. He studied this very much. He's been an advocate of players getting paid way before I was, Joe. And
he's been an advocate for that for 20 years.
I know he's been. Hey, well, Joe, let's go to Adam. Anything else before?
Yeah, what I was going to say is stick on after the chat with Joel, and I'll share everyone with my experience. But I took Joel's course. He was an unbelievable instructor, and Joel and I have stayed in touch. And you know, I've represented now over 5 guys in the NFL. I started with an NBA basketball player, Alfonso McKinney, who's still with the Lakers, who unfortunately couldn't play defense last night in the 4th quarter and lost to the Warriors after a 14-point lead. But anyone who's into betting, we have a betting course, and you could bet the Warriors live at plus 14.5. But anyways,
that's an emerging field as more states legalize sports betting.
Huge.
Yeah.
And then leagues are going to figure out how to monetize the whole gambling aspect, 'cause that's going to be an interesting revenue stream for the NFL. The players will share in however the NFL monetizes gambling.
No doubt. And like we had
the CBA.
We had the doc talk with Dan Duquette not too long ago, and he was talking about how over in Japan they bet on almost every pitch. Yeah. You know, so who knows what it can turn into.
Yeah, and you know what, Joe, what I love about whether it's a salary cap or the NIL or the agent course or analytics, they all cross-pollinate now. There's almost, you have to have more than one. That's why we've set up a master certificate also, Joe. This is an exciting time. Let's go to Megan and bring Megan in for your introduction and question or comment for Joe.
Hi, Joel. My name is Megan. I'm a marketing intern at SMWW. And so my question is a little bit of a shift away from the NCAA conversation that we were just having, but obviously revenue has taken a huge hit just with fans not being in the stands and all of that. From what you had said, it sounds like professional players like the superstars like Mahomes are going to get paid no matter what. But what happens to the athletes that aren't as known or aren't as popular?
Well, we're going to see firsthand what happens with the NFL this year, because pre-COVID-19, everyone's anticipating the salary cap would go up to 210 million, 215 million. Now it could be as low as 175 million. You're right. The superstars get paid. If it's 175, you're going to see a lot of guys released, and this becomes a simple economic equation. There's going to be a glut of supply, so it's going to be a huge buyer's market. Even if the cap's flat at 198, you're still going to have players released. So you're going to see guys doing one-year deals to try to hope that the new media rights deals will come into effect and the league's going to get a huge windfall. So the cap will start going up again and then try to hit the market again in 2022. But yes, the middle class is going to get squeezed, and you're going to see a lot of guys who are going to be taking pay cuts or playing for a lot less money than they thought they would when their contract expired than they thought 2 years ago. So it's going to be the NFL is going to be the first real test case to that, because the way the cap is expected to drop or at best remain flat.
Look, Megan, anything else?
No, I think that was it. Thank you.
I love you
Thank you.
coming in. Megan's been interning in our office. She's taking a course and she's doing it. She's got a bright future, and we're doing a lot on social media. She's even making me better. She and Alyssa are. Joe, I want to ask a question here. The talking about expansion as a revenue makeup, and let's go back to MLB. I know they don't have a salary cap. The NBA, maybe a Seattle team, etc. Your thoughts on expansion? Even baseball was talking about relocation, but they're almost, it's $1 billion recovery windfall for franchise tags, if I may. Your comment about those creative revenues in all sports as we try to get back to post-COVID or pre-COVID at one time, it could take a couple years.
Well, that's always been a sticking point with the NFL in particular, that when you have an expansion team or teams, the expansion fee is not shared with the players. When a team relocates, the relocation fee that you pay gets split among the owners. That's exempted from revenue sharing. So that's something that the union couldn't change with this last round of talks for the CBA, which runs through the 2030 season. But as you have more teams enter the league, that's going to be great for players in terms of there being more jobs. And if you have, and it's going to be more inventory. So more inventory should be more attractive to whoever is going to be the rights holder. And the lifeblood of any sport, major sport in this country, is the TV revenue, because we haven't seen TV revenue go down, and particularly in a cap sport, since that is where the majority, which drives salaries. If you ever have revenues go down from a TV or media rights standpoint, we are all in trouble. But the bubble has not burst, and I don't anticipate that happening anytime soon from that standpoint, even though people aren't watching sports, particularly younger people, the way they have been in the past, that you have cord cutters, and young people don't watch sports the way my generation did. You sit down for 3 hours, but nonetheless, there are going to be ways to figure out how it works streaming wise, or they're going to, like you saw the NFL for the wild card round there, that Nickelodeon game, to try to attract a younger audience. So they're going to try to do things to figure out how to navigate the changing viewing habits of the consumer.
Well, and Joe, we talk about sports betting and not only the revenues for the teams and leagues and the partnerships.
Actually, sports betting drives interest in watching games, and also fantasy football. Right. And the Red Zone channel exists for one reason: fantasy football.
Absolutely.
And why are you going to watch a game that's a blowout? And Al Michaels alludes to it more than anybody else. Like, this is an important touchdown in a blowout. That's because the point spread's in play. So that gets people to watch games which you would otherwise turn off. So as betting becomes more, where you can have, if you ever have at home in-game betting where you can bet on what happens next play, so forth. Yeah, you're gonna get people watching those games.
It's coming, Joe. And the backdrop of our global economy and the revenue of states, they got hit too, not just sports, but you hit it right on the head. Joe, we're encouraging other questions. I have a question of the Deshaun Watson debacle in Houston. How do you trade him, and how is the salary?
I'm not trading him.
Okay, but explain the salary cap. Go ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, Deshaun Watson in early September signed a 4-year, $156 million extension. Now, his salary cap number this year is 15.94. 5.4 million of that is bonus proration. So if the Texans decided to trade him, the acquiring team would need $10.54 million to absorb his salary this year, fit him under the cap in order for the trade to be executed. Now, if Houston trades him, he's got a $27 million signing bonus in the deal, which is prorated over 5 years. So the cap charge for him would be $21.6 million. They'd have a $5.66 million increase on the cap for trading him. Now, he has a no trade clause, which means he can control where he goes. So if Houston decides to trade him, they can't just decide, we're going to trade Chicago Bears. You don't want the Chicago Bears? He's not going there. because he has to give them prior written consent in order to be traded. Now, if you're going to trade him, which I wouldn't, I would work with him in terms of what are 5-6 teams or however many teams you might be willing to go to. And then I would leverage all those teams against each other to try to get the best deal I could if I'm the Texans. But first of all, I would try to do everything possible to rectify the situation with him and mend the relationship, because quarterbacks like Deshaun Watson don't grow on trees. You don't want to trade Deshaun Watson for the hope that you can get a quarterback that one day might almost be as good as Deshaun Watson. So if that means you got to hire the head coach he wants, so be it. But one, they made a mistake by saying they were going to include him in the GM process. Obviously, a lot went wrong because they ignored everything the search committee wanted and didn't keep him in the loop. So I would make him be a part of the head coaching process. You don't have to necessarily hire this guy, but make him feel like his voice was heard. He may still want out, but if I'm the Texans, I exhaust every avenue that way. And I'm like, look, we're not trading you. You can hold out all you want, but we're not going to trade you. I would not trade that guy. And if I did trade him, I'd ask for something insane along the lines of the Herschel Walker trade.
I love your insight, Joe. Ike would like to ask you a question. I remind everybody in our last quarter here, anybody else has questions, and Adam will come in to go through some announcements and big announcements. But Joe, let's go to Ike with your question. Ike, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Joel, kind of going off of the broadcast of Nickelodeon and then just kind of the talking points of fan engagement, I'm curious about, with the NFL broadcast deal soon to expire, and then with this COVID year where essentially the only way to view a game was obviously to watch it on TV, would I be correct in thinking that that makes those games, those televised games, more valuable, and therefore in this upcoming negotiation, the NFL might try and up their asking price to try and get back some of that potential lost revenue, because those televised events were therefore more valuable because there was no fans in the stands?
Well, the local revenue accounts for like 35-40% of league revenue. That's the problem. But yeah, they're going to get an increase on the media rights deals. And even though ratings are down, they're down across the board with TV. And if you look at like a list of the highest rated programs on TV, the NFL dominates that list. So yeah, the property of having NFL football is still extremely valuable. And there've been rumors that ABC is going to want back in on one of the packages. And anytime you have the network, which is on the outside looking in, wanting back in, that's great for whatever league. And as we saw with the NBA package, that exceeded expectations. So I'm anticipating there's going to be a very substantial increase in the NFL package. I don't think we're quite at the point where you're going to have a huge streaming component of the package where that's the only way you could see a game. But over time, maybe not these media rights deals, but the next one, you'll have those types of avenues being pursued more heavily by the league.
And Joe, thank you, Ike. And Joe, I want to add to that. I always say at SNWW, go global or go home. And when we went to NFL to England every year, Europe for that game, we sure watched the World Football League, NFL Europe. I remember when Fridge Perry opened up in London. I was in Mexico City last year with my wife watching the Chiefs game. Sold out.
You mean when we're going to one day have the London Jaguars?
Well, don't laugh. But that's,
no, I'm serious, because they're the team who always participates in the series in England. Right. And sometimes two games, they play two games over there. So I've always thought that we would have the Jaguars be the team which moves.
And I always said the flight from Miami to London's really no further than the one to Seattle. But Joe, here's my question on the globalization. 8 billion people out there. And with COVID, there's been a lot of reliance, as Ike brought up, the Nickelodeon, et cetera. But I think as you spread that and you spread gambling, the global audience, and, you know, it's like hockey easily. We were in Frankfurt. The Blackhawks were there. They sold out. It was exciting. Like I said, Mexico City. But the more I think about it, Joe, the next expansion, besides a few to fill out the 32, is going to be globally, including Mexico City someday. But Joe, saying all
like
that,
a non-United States division, because I think ultimately the NFL is going to want to have a division of non-North American teams.
Right.
Now, one of the problems is American football is not played globally at a high level around the world, unlike soccer and basketball. So you're not going to have the same growth in American football that you did with basketball after the Dream Team participated in the 1992 Olympics. I don't think that's ever going to happen because American football is never going to gain that type of popularity.
So I'm going to
I still think you're going to have the NFL trying to make more inroads overseas.
I'm going to disagree with that one statement because we saw basketball started with the peach basket. Look what basketball's done. And by the way, Joe.
Yeah, but everyone plays basketball because that's been an Olympic sport forever.
The world is changing. I'm a global guy. We were in India a couple of years ago, and soccer's growing over there. And I will be honest with you, speaking of soccer, Joe, before I go to an NHL question, the soccer in 2026, the World Cup is held in North America, Canada, America, and Mexico. And Joe, I think it'll surpass all sports in America in popularity. I didn't say any sport was going away. I think the growth, this is what I think the owners have found out. The revenue growth, not just in sports betting, but that global audience in esports is so huge that I really think we're in a 2.0 revolution, including the salary cap. And speaking of salary cap, we'll go to baseball last, and if anybody has any questions. But Joe, the NHL, it's in your backyard. We saw what Vegas did. Talk about the NHL, what you might know about it, and how it's really come together nicely. Gary Bettman's done a marvelous job. But what's your comments on hockey? Much smaller revenue, but still a very solid foundation for the future.
Well, I've jokingly said over the years that I sometimes wondered if Gary Bettman was a secret agent of David Stern when he was the NBA commissioner.
I think so.
Because Gary Bettman was his deputy commissioner, and every time hockey gained momentum, they would have a work stoppage to kill it. Because there was a time when the NHL All-Star game was on a channel which doesn't exist anymore, Versus, which is now the NBC cable network. Yeah. I was like, how's hockey's presence disappeared so much? Now it's on the upswing. You had expansion teams. I live in Vegas, and Vegas embraced NHL hockey at a much greater pace than I thought they would. This team has gained a foothold on the town that even the Raiders haven't been able to make a dent in. My hometown, Nashville, Tennessee, the Nashville Predators are extremely popular.
Yeah.
And I never thought that Nashville would be a hockey town, but it is. So hockey sometimes gets the short shift in terms of how people think about sports in this country, but the NHL has been making more strides in the past few years. The thing is, salaries lag behind other sports, because if you can make $10 million, $12 million a year in hockey, you're near the top of the market, whereas at the other sports, you're not close to being one of the highest paid players if you're making that type of money.
You know, Joe, good comment. And, you know, the World Cup gets 1 billion viewers and the Super Bowl gets 120, 130 million. I think that's why this go global, go home is part of our mantra here at Sports Management Worldwide. Joe, let's talk just a little bit about MLB, which is an oxymoron to salary cap, but explain a little bit what they have and why they never have had a salary cap like all the other sports in North America.
Well, traditionally, the baseball union had been the strongest union under Marvin Miller. And over time, the union strength has been diluted. I think you're going to see a work stoppage after the 2021 season when the CBA is up, because you have a competitive balance tax in baseball, where if you spend above a certain level, then you get taxed. But since you don't have a salary cap, you don't have a minimum spend. For salary cap, you have a salary amount you can't go over, or if there are exceptions to the cap, you can't soft cap. You also have minimum spending requirements. You don't have that in baseball. So you've had teams who don't have to spend a certain amount of payroll. So you've seen over the past 2, 3, 4 years that the players' share percentage of revenue actually has gone down in terms of the total amount spent on salaries for that reason. I think that's where you're going to see things rectified. Baseball free agency is a different animal than basketball, football, hockey free agency and the other sports. The top free agents sign as soon as free agent period starts. I said jokingly a couple of years ago that the first NFL free agent was going to sign before Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, and it came pretty close because for some reason baseball free agency just works at a much slower pace. So I think the union is going to take a huge stand and try to claw back some of the things they've lost over time through collective bargaining. But since revenues are going to be down again, the owners aren't going to be as receptive as they would under a normal climate. So I think we're going to have a problem with baseball.
Joe, my last question here, and again, I urge everyone to stay in. Adam will stay around and go through some announcements. But Joe, the salary cap and the collective bargaining agreement and why it's so attractive, whether it's a NFL quarterback the first 4 years or the NBA's first contract. Talk about why teams are trying to get it right on that first contract and why it's so lucrative to the production on the field or on the court or on the ice. Your comments on that.
Well, the genesis of having wage scales is Glenn Big Dog Robinson, who in I think 93, 94 signed some insane like 68 million over 10 years as a rookie contract. So you had rookies who were being paid like all-stars.
Yeah.
So that's where the first rookie wage scale came in. And the union's responsibility is to its current members, not future members. Yeah. So the veterans are happy to screw the rookies because they're thinking that the money's going to get shifted to us. It doesn't necessarily, it's not a dollar for dollar shift.
Yeah.
And then in the NFL, the 2011 collective bargaining agreement put in a rookie wage scale. And part of that was because of Jamarcus Russell. Jamarcus Russell made $40 million over 3 years to be a bust in Oakland. Sam Bradford, the last guy who didn't play under the rookie wage scale, signed a 6-year contract for $78 million, $50 million fully guaranteed for incentives to take it up to $86 million. The next year, Cam Newton, rookie wage scale, $22 million over 4 years for 5th-year option. Now, in a cap sport, particularly NFL, if you want to amass a lot of talent, you get a rookie quarterback that can play really well. He's cheap compared to what his actual value can be if he's playing at a high level. You can build your roster around him, and you can have a window of opportunity where you can be super competitive. And then once you have to pay him on a huge contract, things will have to change. You have to be more judicious in terms of who you pay and who you can't. The Seattle Seahawks, when they were perennial championship contenders, because Russell Wilson was a 3rd-round pick, flashed really early. So they had him for next to nothing. And as Bobby Wagner said, when they had to start giving second contracts, can't keep everyone. So you have to start making choices in terms of which guy you pay, which one you don't, which positions that you cut corners with in terms of trying to fit under the salary cap. So it becomes much harder for second contract. With the rookie wage scale, that gives you an opportunity to amass a lot of talent if you do it right, unlike the Indianapolis Colts, who wasted the cheap years of Andrew Luck.
Yeah. And you know what, Joe, and it's just been a great to talk to you back to that college. You almost need a salary cap to keep the Alabamas from having the top 50 players and the NFL. And my worry, and the reason I love the salary cap and wish baseball had it, Joe, the product is the competition and not the victory. And the NFL is a great example. Anybody could beat anybody on a Sunday. And I think that keeps it exciting. The owners learned that in the NHL and the NBA. They needed something to give small market teams a chance to compete. And that's why the product keeps growing and growing. Joe, any closing comments? We have you and 50 other faculty and 35 courses from 163 countries, 20,000 graduates. Joe, you do an outstanding job. I love listening to you. You never bore me. Any closing comment to those that might be interested in getting in the business?
Well,
one, I've got the athlete management course, which is Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, which starts every 8 weeks. I think another course starts in 2 weeks. First Monday in February, the new salary cap course starts up 8 weeks, where we go cover all sports, terms of collective bargaining, and how the system for paying players or a salary cap works. And then come April, for those of you who want to be NFL contract advisors, we have a prep course, which is kind of like SAT prep course, LSAT, GMAT prep course. So the passage rate in that class is 65-70%. The passage rate for the test is about 35-40%. So you'll definitely be prepared if you take that.
Joe, I hope you're doing well. I can't wait to get a vaccine. I can't wait to see you this summer. I'm an optimist. I think we're going to get back to our conferences and everything. You're a blessing for
Hopefully
us.
The summer league goes off the way it's supposed to, and then we'll be back out here in Vegas.
I know. I can't wait to see you. And by the way, Ike, I'll let you give it back to Adam. Adam, Jill, thank you. And Adam, come on in and make your announcements and talk about
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Everybody. So go ahead. I'll let Adam come in and hang in there with us a few minutes. You'll learn a lot.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Lashbrook.
Thank you. Go ahead, Adam.
All right. Well, I'm here. Sorry. Hey, Logan, if you're there, I know you're texting me trying to get a question answered, but I'm sure I could answer it as well. And thank you for Joel. I guess giving my quick background, as you can see behind me, Packers fan and not bandwagon. Grew up in Green Bay. Parents have 6 season tickets and moved out to Portland. Met Dr. Lashbrook because he couldn't get direct TV service at the brewery and restaurant that I was part owner of, and got to know Dr. Lashbrook and sold out my shares of the restaurant and brewery, and came under and took athlete management with Joel Corey. Within my first year, had signed a player from Texas A&M who got into rookie camp with the Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately, he was an outside linebacker and reported in underweight, and they had to work him out at safety, which did not work well. From there, I've represented 5 or 6 guys now in the NFL. Basketball player Alfonso McKinney, who I brought up, who Brett Canis and I sent him over. I graduated from University of Wisconsin Green Bay, and that's where Al went to school. Sent him over to Luxembourg. He was down in Mexico, then was over in China, and then went into the G League, and then proceeded on to be signed by the Warriors, and then got traded to the Cavs and is now with the Lakers. So the athlete management course, I always loved sports. I played football, baseball, basketball throughout my early years, and then actually had a chance to walk on at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee for a baseball scholarship, and ended up losing that scholarship to outside problems. I had my older brother's fake IDs, so my priorities were somewhere else. But anyways, always dreamed about being in sports, and I took Joel's course, and like I said, now I've represented several players in different leagues, and I love it. What Joel's courses can do, or any of our courses can do for you, is get you the chance to get that interview or the chance to work in sports. The applications are free. You can go to smww.com, sign up or fill out a free application for any of our courses. It ranges anything from agent courses, which I'll go over in a minute, to we have a partnership with Concordia University of Chicago for a master's degree or doctorate program. We also have advanced certificates in the front office of any professional sports team. All of our courses are taught by industry professionals such as Joel. And what we do is bridge that gap of what can you bring to the table when it comes to working in sports. Teams get a ton of applications of I'm passionate about sports and I want to work for your team, but what do you actually have on your resume that gives you the ability to get that interview? And that's where our courses come into play. For me, I took both the athlete management course and the football GM and scouting course because I wanted to know what professional scouts were looking for in professional players that could play at a professional level. So it only made me a better agent by taking that course. I see like Ahmad in here and several of our agent advisors that have taken Joel's course. So I'd ask you guys to ask any questions when you have the chance right now to ask me any questions that you guys have, because I have experience in doing all of this in basketball, football. I was a family advisor to a kid that played hockey over on the East Coast for the New Jersey Hitmen. And like I said, what our courses do for you is bridge that gap between having any sort of education, no matter what level it is, and actually getting a career in sports. And we open up your network. We have you do informational interviews that expands your network. You can use your instructors as references. After the course, we have free resume services that gears your resume towards a career in sports. We have a whole job links area of what teams are hiring and for what positions and where to be sending your resume. And we do all these things, and it's all included in the cost of our courses. Our courses also have alumni discounts. Several of you are alumni, so if you're interested in future courses, you get a $300 discount. If you sign up for multiple courses, you get a $400 discount. We have payment plans, and we're willing to work with you. And I've known Dr. Lashbrook for 20 years. He has Sunday morning chats that are open to any of our alumni or current students, that he will also give you advice in regards to how to get that informational interview that you're looking for, or where to be sending your resume. So does anyone, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. I also oversee the agent advisors. So after you take any of our agent courses, so let's go over that really quick. If you're interested in representing multiple sports like myself, I would suggest Joel's course. It's athlete management. It goes over baseball, football, basketball, and hockey. After you complete that course, you have the chance to do co-representation with the agency side of our company, and you get a 40% commission split on anything the professional contract would bring to the agency side of our company. It's called the Agent Advisor Program. I host a chat every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for all the agent advisors, and we go over who is a prospect, who is not a prospect. Where do you find prospects? How do you get them the marketing materials? How do you get their contact information? For soccer, John Print handles all of our soccer related questions, and also individual sports like race car drivers or tennis players. And how do you help them get sponsorship and endorsement deals? We also have an athlete marketing and branding course taught by Kristen Kaluga, who represents several high-level players in many different sports, such as Vaughn Miller and the wide receiver from the Chargers right now. His name I am forgetting, but there you go, Keenan Allen, who her Rolodex becomes your Rolodex. Who do you contact at Coca-Cola if you're looking to get an athlete a sponsorship or an endorsement deal, and how do you go about that? And like I said, we have several different courses, all taught by industry professionals, and it can happen. Back when I met Lynn, I was kind of like, sure, yeah, and then I actually took the course, and I've actually done it and represented players in the NFL. It's funny because I grew up, as you can see behind me, I grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. My parents have 6 season tickets to the Packers. I never would have imagined that in my cell phone, I would have Matt LaFleur's cell phone number and actually be able to talk to the head coach of the Packers. Now, do I call him as a fan? No. I text him and talk to him on a professional level. But it can happen. And I made this transition when I was 38 years old. So you're never too old. You're never too young. If you're professional about sports and you want to get into sports, it's all about what do you have on your resume and what can you bring to the table. And that's what it's all about. Does anyone have any questions for me? Like I said, I oversee our agent advisors. I help them out in finding prospects. I've done it in all sports. It doesn't have to be just football or basketball. If anyone has any sort of questions for me, feel free to raise your hand. I'll call on you and go over those questions for you. So Logan, I know you're interested. You're an alumni, and I know you're interested in other sports. So go ahead, unmute yourself, and ask your question.
Hi, Adam. How are you doing?
Hey,
tonight?
buddy. Good. How are you? I know we've worked together in the past, but go ahead.
I actually wanted to make sure this real quick. I'm a Bears fan.
Unfortunately, yeah. And
Kyle
Kyle Sloter was with your Bears. I almost think he could have done better than good old Mitchie. But go ahead.
I actually was wondering. I had an original question, but it's kind of changed since you've been talking. That information you were going over, kind of like the where do you get a sponsorship? Who do you contact? That kind of stuff.
Sure.
Is that covered in your athlete advisor meeting, or is that stuff that we'll learn during the course?
So athlete management is going to go over the pure representation of players and the legalities of it. The sponsorship side of things is going to be covered in Kristen's course, the athlete marketing and branding. And her Rolodex, it's huge. Like, for example, I mentioned that we still do Kyle's marketing. So I set up a whole website for Kyle. We sold T-shirts. I had get sponsorships by QB54, which is like a tailgate game that you can buy for tailgates. And it's actually a pretty cool game. It's kind of like the cornhole version, but with footballs. Also with hoist water and things like that. But the way you go about that is if you're looking for strictly endorsements and marketing deals for athletes, and that would include a lot of people out there that come into my chats are looking into representing swimmers or tennis players or golfers or MMA fighters. Those type of athletes need sponsorship and marketing deals. And I would recommend the athlete marketing and branding course for those type of athletes, because Kristen will go over how to get those marketing and endorsement deals, where Joel's athlete management course is more about how do you go about representing football, basketball, hockey, and baseball players. Not so much how do you go about getting them the endorsements, but how do you go about recruiting them, signing them, and getting them a professional contract.
Gotcha. All right.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes.
All
very
right.
much.
Perfect. Does anyone else have any other questions? Ahmad, I see you in here. I know you normally have some questions.
No, I'm good tonight, Adam. I know we got a meeting tomorrow. I got a meeting with Dr. Lashbrook on what we talked about last week. So that's going pretty good. He was pretty excited.
Well, and maybe Ahmad, since you're on right now, maybe you can explain your experience through the athlete management course and what we do in my chats if you feel up to it. If not, not a big deal. And then after that, we'll go to Brandy and Martin.
No, I have no problem. Ahmad Abdur-Rashid, I'm here in Alexandria, Virginia. I took Joel's course back in August. Now I'm here as an agent advisor with Sports Management Worldwide. I'm on weekly into Adam's agent advisor meetings. They are very, very informative, and also things that, starting out, it'll be, it is good for us to get in, and it give us good guidance on how we need to deal with potential athletes and also help us not waste our time with, with athletes that, are just not going to make it, because I'm learning the hard way. There are certain criterias, but I'm also learning that, through my own personal experience and things like that. But I decided that I'm also a grad student for Concordia in the PhD program for sports, doing sports management, sports leadership. So with all of that said, with that and with Adam's help, has forced me having a few athletes that I actually go through. And believe me, when I tell you I call Adam, and I give him a call because they'll tell you I don't like to waste anybody's time, and I'm not going to just send anybody. So,
well, yeah, and I think that's another thing that people have to understand. Ahmad, is you're correct. An athlete will tell you anything sometimes you want to hear to help get representation, but sometimes you got to read through what they might be telling you. And those are things we go over in my chat as well, because I've been there and done it. So
yeah, and believe we brought some crazy stories in the chat. So I heard it all, including sometimes I think the things I heard, I'm like, I don't even think mine's even getting near to what some people bring in. But it definitely helps in going through the course. And I'm also I think we talked about it last week, but I'm also I just got approved to go through the NFL Joe's prep course for the NFL certification. So that I'll be starting in April. So I'm excited about that. So I got pretty much a lot going on. So I got Adam helping me, Dr. Lashbrook. So, but other than that, I mean, it's actually great. And I see the potential in what I'm trying to do. And believe me, I don't think any other agency is actually doing what SMWW is doing. So,
well, thank you so much for the compliments, Ahmad, and I'll see you tomorrow night during my chat. I want to get to Brandy and Martin. Brandy, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, thanks, Adam. Thanks for calling on me. Always great to hear from you and Ahmad as well. I've actually had the pleasure of hearing Ahmad speak in the past, so that's great for him to share his experiences. So yes, I do have a couple questions for you, Adam. I probably can't get through all of them, so I'm going to delve into to what I have here. But most recently, I was in Joel's course, in an athlete management course in 2020, so that was great. And based on being on all of the calls, at least the calls that I'm able to join, and that's including Dr. Lashbrook's calls on Sundays, I'm looking to go into Kristen's class next, marketing and branding. I'm a little unsure of what would be the best class after that, right? So that may be something I might need to talk with you about offline. When I initially met you, I was so focused on being a football agent initially, but then you kind of pushed back on that and actually had me thinking that basketball may be a much better route for me personally, although I want to do both football and basketball, because you have that basketball agent course, you have the scouting capability, the apprenticeship, all of that. So
yeah, so let's get into that a little bit, just briefly. But so here's what I'd say. Like I said, if you're looking to represent in, like you or like myself, back when I started out, I didn't know exactly where I'd have my connections. And that's why I took athlete management, because I didn't know if I wanted to do football, basketball, whatever. And then after athlete management, I had experience with all four sports other than soccer. And that's why we have a different soccer agent course. So for me, what I did, I took athlete management because I was unsure of the course. But let's say, here's what I'd recommend to people. If you don't really know and you kind of have connections everywhere, take Joel's athlete management course. No doubt about it. Nice. If you're an alumni of athlete management and want to learn more about the salary cap, obviously a salary cap course. If you're going to take the NFLPA exam, obviously the NFLPA prep course. But if you haven't taken any of our courses, and let's say you're a college basketball player or a college baseball player, and you know that's where your connections are at, then I would focus solely on the baseball agent course or the basketball agent course, because that's where you know your connections will be. If you're looking to represent individual players, like we talked about earlier with tennis players or MMA guys, then definitely the athlete marketing and branding course is the way to go. For you, Brandy, like I said, let's talk at another time, because this could get lengthy and I don't want to take up everyone's time just with you and I talking. But you can definitely reach out to me. But I think for you coming into my chats and going from there, I mean, if basketball is the route you want to go, then the basketball agent course would back up, but yet then you would still have the possibilities to do other sports because you took athlete management. And like I said from the beginning, my experience was I took athlete management, and then I had a lot of guys that got into football. So I took football GM and scouting, because when I was going to pro days or the combine or the East-West Shrine game, when I was talking to scouts, I wanted to know, what was the grading scale? What is the National Bledsoe scouting system? When I'm talking to scouts, what were they looking for in guys that could play professionally? So by taking that course, it made me become a better agent, so I wasn't wasting my time.
Now that makes perfect sense. And just real quick before you go to the next person. So
Sure.
Would you say, after taking the marketing branding course, I'm definitely going to do that next upcoming class, would you say then go the capology route, right, to get a better understanding of the nuances there, or go the scouting route? Which would you go there, and or that's kind of my dilemma. I'm just wondering, which would I take next as my third class?
Yeah, what I would do is I would wait to take the capology course until you had a professional player signed and you wanted to know more about how to negotiate his contract.
Okay. So it sounds like you're thinking scouting.
I would do the scouting course next, in whatever sport you really want to emphasize in becoming an agent, just because you can then go to pro days or anything like that. And when you are talking to scouts, you just come across as a very intelligent agent that knows what the scouts are looking for. So that's the way I direct you.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
No problem, Brandy. Yes.
From you.
Let's go to Martin.
Yeah, so I was wondering if if the hockey agent course is going to be available soon.
So we're working on that with Manny Schmidt, but if you take athlete management, Martin, and I know you and I have talked in the past. So even with athlete management, you still get the chance to do co-representation with Manny Schmidt, who is our hockey agent. He's based out of Canada. Manny and I worked with Manny in the past. We were family advisors to a hockey player over in New Jersey. And Manny knows what he's doing. So even with athlete management, you can still represent hockey players and work with Manny. And Manny knows what he's doing. He has a company called Link Management. And Manny and I worked together on this hockey player since he was 14 years old as a family advisor. He was the best defenseman on the East Coast, right behind Samuelson's son, who was just in the USA Junior World Championships. So I know all about that, but even with athlete management, you can still work with Manny on hockey players.
Yeah, I was just wondering, maybe if it comes out in 3 months, I would just wait it out.
Yeah, I said, I'm gonna have to talk to the higher ups there. And Ike, if you want to hop in and know if there's any progress on possibly a hockey agent course, if you want to jump in.
I am on. Here I am. It's a good question, and it's something that's definitely in the pipeline. we're as Adam did mention, we are trying to put something together with Manny and just kind of work out scheduling as well as content and things like that. So it is something that we do want to put together and have available for yourself as well as the other people that are interested in kind of specializing in the hockey aging field. So no direct concrete like announcement date or something like that if that's what you're looking for, but it is something that is well within our grasp and reach of being able to produce and put together for you guys. And as soon as it's ready to roll out, we'll announce it to you guys.
So we're probably, Martin, I would say on average to develop the course and get everything put together and scheduling with Manny, you're looking at 6 months out probably. But like I said, with athlete management, you can still do the co-representation with Manny.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions from anyone? All right. Well, I guess we'll probably start wrapping things up here. Like I said, applications free of charge. You go to smww.com, fill out your application. A career advisor will get back to you within 24 hours in regards to what courses you're interested in and explain them more in depth. And from there, Ike, anything else?
Yeah, thank you, Adam. Thank you, everyone, for registering. We will be sending out the recording tomorrow via email. Same thing how I emailed you guys with the link to join in. You'll be getting the link to the recording so you guys can all listen back to what Joel and Adam and Dr. Lashbrook talked about. Next week, we also have our next Doc Talk with John Print on Brexit and the effect it has on sports in the UK. So if you guys are interested in that topic, feel free to join us. You can see that on our website, on the Doc Talks page, which is under the conferences tab. And then we'll also be having some Doc Talks to announce in February as well. So look out for those. Again, follow us over on social media, Instagram at SMWW. You can check all of our announcements there. That's where we release them first. So if you guys want to be the first to know, check us a follow. And yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to send us an email at info@smww.com. Again, great to have everyone.
Can I just pipe in really quick? I noticed while I was speaking, there's a lot of questions direct message to me. For everyone that direct messaged me while I was speaking, please just email me, and it's Adam, ADAM, @smww.com. So perfect. Please just email me there.
All right. Well, I think that's that. Adam, everyone, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you on the next one. All right.
Thanks, Ike.
Thanks, guys.